I'm not looking for last year. I can just tell you where we're at right now. We got a great leader who's.
They roll coverage.
What a beautiful day. Oh, unbelievable. A long weekend. The guys look fresh. They look fast. A lot of excitement out there, and to be able to get back on the grass, and continue to build this thing, as we head into the first week of the regular season. A lot of excitement. So, good competitive period at the end. Just went, ones on ones at the end, best of 5 right there. So it was a lot of good energy to finish the practice. Offense won today. Okay. So it kind of goes back and forth sometimes like that, but it was a really nice pass. Bryce threw about a 40-yard bomb to Xavier, early in the competition period to kind of elevate the energy of it. But it was a really good practice. I was fired up to get back out there.
Hey, and shout out to him. Shout out to everybody that is there. This is obviously coming from the September 1st press conference. We know that there's a lot of stuff coming out of this. This does remind me, though, I'm not going to lie, this dude right here, he reminds me of the same guy that was telling me that the offense was finally opening after we got that 29-yard bomb to Tataroa in our preseason game. If that's the case and we're relying on big plays, I'm not really sure how viable that's going to be for wins. But regardless, he's obviously coming in here with a plan. And either way, man, I'm excited. Hopefully you are too. The Jacksonville game is this Sunday. I'm glad. We finally made it. Shout out to everybody. It's been too long. I'm so glad Panthers football is back.
Hey, Coach, every team wants to start out fast. That's not stating the obvious, but after last year's opener, how important is it for the team and for Bryce to set a nice standard?
It's 2025. We're excited about every week. We treat them all the same, all the way through the preseason. Every game is a championship opportunity for us to work on our craft, work on our game, work on our play style, all those things. And that's the way we look at this one. Excited about the challenge of the Jags. Liam Cohen, a guy that I really respect, and a bunch of talent that they've assembled there. So a lot of excitement in both buildings, just really looking forward to, these opportunities to become us, to find the successes and find the challenges and to learn and to grow. So really excited about this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, it completes the circle. The former Bucks OC versus the former Bucks OC. Liam Cohen obviously adds Travis Hunter. They've got some pieces on defense, and of course they did that big trade in the draft. I mean, the Jaguars are an interesting one. Just paid T-Law as well. Offensive line is still building. Defense is pretty young. They remind me a lot of our Carolina Panthers. But the passing game and, of course, our run game is going to be crucial. Obviously, that's a massive point. It's like 95% of the offense. But regardless, I think that's something to watch. Obviously, he's going to talk about Ikem at some point. We need to get an update about him. We need to get an update about maybe Chandler Zavala. Has Yash been getting more opportunities at left guard, at left tackle? What's going on with Brady Christensen? Is Corbs being competent at least at center for right now? Not saying he wasn't previously, but hey man, he's at 30 now. We need to start figuring these things out. And obviously, again, this dude right here has a lot still to tell us. And right now, looking at last year's start against the Saints, I hated that game. We got destroyed. I don't want to see that this year. I do not want to see the Jaguars beat us by more than 7 points. I want this to be competitive. If it's not competitive, that'll be very telling about where Carolina currently sits and maybe where Dave Canales sits with Bryce Young, because to be honest, the play calling is going to change depending on what happens in this game. And not just that, we add Hendon Hooker previously, another quarterback because of the Dalton injury. So now there's starting to be more fire under Bryce's feet. I'm not saying it's immediate fire, but there's definitely something brewing in Carolina.
On Ike's status, and then we saw Damian out there.
Yeah, day to day right now. We'll give the official injury report on Wednesday with all the different levels of what people can expect there. But it's day to day right now.
That is not great news for Carolina. Damian Lewis, Robert Hunt, Chandler Zavala, all dealing with injuries. I'm not worried about the defense as much as I'm worried about this offensive line. And given where the constant hesitancy comes from Dave Canales, I feel like not only this Ikem, but also that Damian Lewis shoulder injury is something a little bit more than they're willing to tell us. Is there a scenario where we don't even get Ikem in week 2? Possibly. I mean, if he's day-to-day, it shouldn't be. But there's absolutely that possibility. Again, I really hope Ikem is out there week 1. If not, week 2, he better be refreshed and ready to go. Because to be honest, he is in a contract year this year. And given where this team is, given the Taylor Moton extension, I think he needs to really put a foot to pavement this year, really show us that he's the left tackle or maybe even right tackle of the future.
Coker, how did that end? What happened with that injury and then the re-signing of Renfro?
Yeah, it was in our last practice. He got a pretty significant quad strain. So, bummed out for Jalen, who's had a fantastic camp. And yes, excited that Hunter, we got that done, and really got to give a lot of credit to Dan and Brant, Hunter and his crew for just working through it. We were going to have this conversation ongoing, and couldn't be a better opportunity, right now. Based on the situation we're in, we're so blessed to be able to have Hunter come back to us here and decide to continue with us, with the Panthers. We're stoked about it. And he had a great day today. But I'm really glad that the guys were able to, find a common ground and an agreement.
So yeah, I'm not a big Hunter Renfro fan. That's pretty honest. I'm pretty open about that as well. But I think it's strictly because I want to see the younger guys develop. In this scenario, Jalen Coker can't develop because he's dealing with a thigh injury, something going on of that. So he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. And obviously we know he played a lot in the slot. Hunter Renfro did have concerns, Dave Canales said them himself, regarding his overall health and his overall availability. So I'm not even sure Hunter Renfro is a long-term solution. Now, obviously, it goes from a $1.3 million salary to a $2 million salary with possible incentives. So shout out to Hunter for going and getting that bag. But I genuinely believe this Hunter Renfro is a different one than we're used to seeing, of course. Older, post-injury, the whole bit. But at the same time, I feel like this is the grooming of Hunter Renfro to one day be a part of the Dave Canales tree when it comes to coaching. I do think that this is a transitional period for a guy like Hunter Renfro, who down the road could be a really good wide receivers coach or assisting somewhere in that facet. So to be honest, I feel like this is just laying the groundwork for that.
You had talked to us before about how pleased you were with Coker after you had the talk with him at the start of OTAs. Will you guys have your PT people and your medical people kind of dig into the quad stuff? Because I think he had a similar thing last year.
Absolutely. It's all hands on deck. And, we had a great plan in the offseason, which Jalen did a great job of executing as well over the summer and has really just looked amazing. And I had a chance to just connect with them, right after the practice. A lot of frustration, and then just kind of seeing him today, and he knows what he has to work on. I was like, shoot, it's all about what are we competing for? And now we're competing to get healthy. We're competing to do this. You know how to do this. And you have the resources here. Everybody's all hands on deck. And we're just, we're going to exhaust everything possible to be able to get him back into the rhythms of last year where he was able to come back and help us, even last season. So, can't wait to get him back out there. And right now it's just going to take some time.
I genuinely don't love the back and forth with Jalen Coker. Did he come into camp wanting to get better? Did he do the offseason stuff because you told him to or because he wanted to? Because the way that it has been presented previously is that Jalen Coker went out of his way to be involved in offseason programs, to tone himself, to get better in the route tree and everything like that. Now it seems like there's a little bit of toying with that, maybe a little bit of, footsie. But is that justifying to put him on the roster, meaning Hunter Renfro now? Maybe, sure. To be honest, he called him like his David Moore. He literally compared Coker to David Moore. I don't know where we need to get to this point. Coker's obviously wide receiver, in my opinion, 2. Obviously pending injury, of course. But if that injury is what keeps him out of that wide receiver 2 position, then he's a high-end wide receiver 3. And if that's the case, I am super happy with that. I just need other guys to step up. So I think this is less of a symptom, meaning Jalen Coker's injury, and now we need to add Hunter Renfro. But I think it could also be a little bit of concern, because if your wide receiver 2 is Xavier Legette, does Canales believe in him? I know what he comes out here and tells people, but what he's doing on the field and getting guys looks, does that actually translate into something? I mean, I even saw a crazy one where somebody tried to tell me Xavier Legette, shout out Richard, is our wide receiver 1. I don't believe that. But hey, there's some Panthers fans that believe that. There's even guys that believe that we're a 13-4 win team. I don't know where that delusion comes in, but either way, we don't really know because we haven't seen it on the field yet. So regardless of where we're talking about, where this could go, where it might go, all that other stuff, it's pure speculation until Sunday when this game gets played against Jacksonville. We're going to know exactly what this offense is, what this defense is, and of course, what this coaching scheme and ability to actually put points on the board is going to be. I really hope it's not like last year's Saints game, but if it is, I don't know how the fan base is going to handle those tough questions that we're absolutely going to have. Either way, I hope Dave is here to see year 3 with that, because I'm concerned that Tepper is going to pull the trigger if those first few games are anything short of scoring a dynamite amount of points.
I know you said a couple of weeks ago when you took Tommy off the injury list that you wanted to see how his physicality could kind of handle it. How has he looked so far now that he's in drills?
He looks great. I mean, as good as I remember, maybe better. He looks fast. He looks strong. So he's got, really 2 exposures now of limited in that first practice. Last week coming back today was a little bit more. He's handling the load. We'll check in with him again, this afternoon and kind of see how he feels. But he's been locked in mentally the whole time, and now it's just a matter of getting his feet underneath him and just finding those rhythms and being able to block different body types and those things. But I'm excited about Tommy.
And what's the first thing he says, man? He's getting back to it so he can block. I'm telling y'all, this Ja'Tavion Sanders smoke is leading to fire. Ja'Tavion Sanders lost 20-plus pounds. He's going to be a receiving threat now, and Dave Canales needs his blocking tight ends. So Ja'Tavion Sanders is not going to see the field as much as people are believing. To be honest, it's going to be a concern for him moving forwards. The 2 guys behind him as well, Mitchell Evans and James Mitchell, both big blocking tight ends. So it's an interesting one, especially given that Dave Canales doesn't run 12 personnel at a high clip. So with that, there's a lot of concern here for a guy like Sanders, but I have no concern in a guy like Tommy. I love what he can do, contribute. I don't know why I said it like that, but contribute to the run game while also giving us a viable receiving threat. I don't need you to be a receiver first. I need you to be a great blocker, or at least competent blocker, to where people don't immediately target you, because that's what they do. They know that when Ja'Tavion Sanders is on the field, it's not Tommy Tremble. That's not the same blocking ability. So just load it up wherever Ja'Tavion Sanders' side is. I'm sorry. It sucks to say, but a guy like Tommy Tremble changes stuff for this team, so I'm glad to see him returning. This isn't all about negative about Sanders. I do think he has a place on this team. But that place is not going to be a regular down tight end.
What's the unique challenge of being the first team to see what Jacksonville is going to do with Travis Hunter? And have you been able to deduce anything about what their play might be in the preseason?
A special player for sure, but it goes beyond that. I think it's anytime you play a team where you have new coordinators coming into play, familiarity with Liam, with what he did in Tampa, but then this is a totally different group. They're kind of built differently with their skill players on offense and some of their tight ends. I'm sure they're going to use them in different ways than what we've seen. We might see some similarities, and same thing goes for the defensive side. You got a new defensive coordinator. He's been a couple of places, and it's you take the preseason and you got to think, okay, well, if he's calling plays really for the first time in a while, like some of the rhythms of how he's going to call it may show up in the preseason, but we have to assume they're not showing everything. Just like we showed most of our stuff, not everything. So those things present their unique challenges, because while it's still going to come down to our execution, you like to have your 60 or 70% or better tendencies, whether it's offense or defense, and we really don't know what those things are. So we're going to have to be taking a lot of notes, early on in the game to kind of see what the game plan is and just make sure that what we're doing, attacks that or fits that.
I'm not going to lie, it hurts my soul a little bit as a Carolina Panthers fan to hear that most of our offensive scheme has already been out there, and those 3 preseason games were terrible. Obviously, he's talking about execution as well, so I understand the scheme is not executed at the same level because of concerns. Offensive line concerns, which are coming from me, maybe not others, but from me, I'm definitely concerned about that. Dave is also concerned about that because the majority of penalties, I think it might not be the majority, it might be they're tied. I think it's separated by 1. So if not, it's almost the majority of the penalties are by the offensive linemen. That's a concern. That's the thing that changes this from a 2-4 to a 2-19 or a 2-14. That's really what sets this offense back, and it's hard for a guy like Bryce Young to to claw us out of that. I feel like it's the execution that's a concern for Canales as well. Of course, not having Icky out there means that the rhythm's going to be off, also like he spoke about with the Jaguars. But either way, this Jaguars game is going to be telling for both sides. I don't think Travis Hunter's anything crazy in the NFL, genuinely. I think it's still Brian Thomas Jr. or bust for that wide receiver room in Jacksonville. But the running back room is a completely separate one. And once you get past our first level, that linebacker core is very thin. Christian Roseboom is interesting. Trevin Wallace is developing. But to be honest, a guy like Bishal Tootin, a guy like Travis Etienne, I always get the two mixed up, and a guy like Tank Bigsby are three great running backs. And what did he do in Tampa? Man, he made Bucky Irving a star. So we got to watch out for that. And genuinely a concern, besides, again, offensive line and the things that I keep going back to, is that linebacker room, that second level. So watch out for that. I genuinely think that's going to be the place to watch because, to be honest, we're probably going to put Horn on BTJ. So for the most part, that's going to be a moot point. It's going to be somebody else has to beat us.
When you identifying those tendencies, is that something, like, are you looking at film from those coordinators in those previous stops?
Yeah, you just got to collect as much information and use your best assumptions on what you think they're going to hang their hat on from a core standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah, and shout out to oh god, it's the rookie fan or the fan rookie. I don't know. He's on screen right now. Shout out to him and 99.9 The Fan because they called out the other day when Dave Canales did last year with the Bryce Young benching. Hey man, we got to take in all the information we can before we make a decision and all that other stuff. So clearly that same mentality continues in 2025.
You named captains.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that process? Was that a vote or was that coach's choice?
Yeah, that's the players voting for it. You know, and they voted for Derek and Bryce and JJ Jansen, you know, as our special teams representative, and we'll kind of have a rotational captain each week that'll go out with those guys. Somebody who is playing the type of play style, showing the type of character we're looking for, and we like to celebrate those guys and call them out front, you know, at the end of the week going into the game. So, but these are three unbelievable people who represent what Panthers football is about.
Okay, I'll give you Derek Brown. You know what? I'll even give you JJ Jansen. I understand why Bryce is the captain. He's the quarterback. I think we just did a thing recently where it's 2010, 2011, or maybe it's 2011, 2012. Were the only 2 years of late where a quarterback for this team was not a captain. So Bryce Young gets that by default. Derek Brown is absolutely the defensive leader on this team. And of course, JJ Jansen is leading out special teams. He's our most tenured player for that squad. Just got a brand new undrafted rookie in Ryan Fitzgerald. Shout out to him. Very excited for him to be place kicking. But either way, I just don't love the rotating captain. I understand it's positional. It's going to change all the time. I genuinely felt like you should have made a secondary player a captain. I understand not giving it to a wide receiver. I understand not giving it to a running back. Your tight ends really, Tremble's hurt. Sanders isn't a blocker, so you're not going to give it to him. I like giving it possibly to JC, but I also don't think that maybe Canales and them believe that he's a true leader, or maybe he just doesn't have the moxie to do that right now. Obviously it's going to be a very hard task for JC to go out there and cover some of the crazy wide receivers we're going to have to go up against this year. But at the same time, the rotating one feels very college to me, and it's inviting more criticism to Dave Canales. Regardless of what this beautiful man wants to say, he has to deal with the media. He has to deal with Tepper. We know that those meetings are tough. Frank Reich even said so when he was the head coach. But he also has to deal with the online fervor. And a decision like this to rotate it weekly, I understand it's only rotating the fourth captain position, but I just feel like you should have been a bit more committal on just one player. Again, I feel like it's defensive player, but either way, I feel like it should have been something rather than this rotating mess, I guess.
When you picked the roster, you kept the entire draft class from this year, plus a couple of undrafted guys. Are there common threads about those guys as a group that you've seen throughout training camp and to now?
I think it's just the evaluation process. Dan does a fantastic job of educating his staff for the types of players that we're looking for. The football character, the personal character, certainly the physical attributes and toughness and all those things. But we have a play style here. Those are the things we're looking for and counting on. And those guys showed those things, throughout the offseason and camp when we were able to have them. And we'd love to build our team that way with players who we handpick that fit these profiles, and then we will develop the football part of it, as they grow up right in front of our eyes, So really excited about the last two classes and the guys we have here.
I don't know about two classes, but I'll at least give you this one. And it genuinely does continue to tell us that Dave Canales likes traits. hey man, just show me the basics and then I can teach you the rest. I can teach you the football. I can teach you the things that'll make you good at the next level. I think that's a very interesting choice, especially given that right now I don't think there's been any one crazy player on this team that wasn't here before Canales that blows the socks off most fans. Again, I love guys like Lathan Ransom, Cam Jackson, Mitchell Evans and stuff from this draft. I even like Nalo and all those guys. The previous draft class, our best one is Shaw Smith-Wade, Xavier Legette sometimes. Sanders is trying to be that guy. I mean, I just don't know. I don't see it. But again, still preseason. Need to get to this Jags game on Sunday. And then we see what the transition is, what the transition actually happened, and if those guys from 2024 have taken that next step forwards. Mainly you, Xavier.
T-Mac in particular, how have you seen him progress since the day he walks in until now when about to be in the starting lineup?
First of all, congratulations, T-Mac. University of Arizona Football Ring of Honor. Certainly a cool moment for him. Got to see a couple of those pictures. But I've just watched him just attack every day and take the information he's been given and master it. He's done a great job mentally, being focused on where to line up, how to execute the route. Lots of conversations with Bryce, a lot of growth there, and then from here it's just about stacking days, stacking techniques, seeing different coverages. As we go through a season, he's going to see different types of DBs, different types of techniques than we've seen in practice. And so every week is going to be so valuable for T-Mac to just learn, to grow, and to just continue to grow and adjust his game.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, there's two concerns that many have with Nalo. I'm going to keep calling him Nalo because I do feel that Tet is a little bit disrespectful. I mean, he told us not to say it, and I am not good enough to say Tetaroa every time. I'm going to mess it up. So these are the two concerns that people have. One, he can't get separation. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, especially when we've seen in the preseason that one down the side, there was enough separation. It's really just the quarterback getting the ball in the right place. I do feel like he has fantastic hands and everything like that. At the same time, some people just believe that the issues he has when he gets pressed at the line is going to be one that presents more issues because Bryce is supposed to be this timing guy. The first issue we saw was that preseason game where Nalo maybe took an extra second and didn't look. And if he would have looked to his right real quick instead of taking that extra step, there's a touchdown. And of course, he says, hey man, it's on me. That jam at the line is going to be a constant issue for our offense. If he doesn't beat that on a regular basis, yes, Tetaroa, Tet, Nalo, whatever you want to call him, he's going to have some issues at the NFL level. But I genuinely believe his size, his speed, and to be honest, just his overall ability is going to be able to mask a lot of those issues. I do feel like he's a raw Mike Evans. That was my comparison coming out of college. And if he's Mike Evans, I am totally happy with that. I'm over the moon. Even if he takes a year, give me more than 600, 750 yards preferably, and I'm happy. I don't need you to have 1,000. I don't need you to have 10 touchdowns. Just show me that you can go out there and win reps on a regular basis. And hey, man, next year is all your year. I don't really care. I just want to see it once. I just want to see it on the field. I want to see a competent offense. And if so, we made the right decision.
Your message to Hunter, obviously you guys cut him and then, stayed in contact, but what was your message to him in bringing him back?
Yeah, it was just working through it with Dan and Brant. I honestly just, got to credit those guys for continuing to have the open dialogue. What do we want this to look like going forward? And so, just really stayed connected throughout the whole thing. And I was able to kind of come in over the weekend and just have a conversation with him and really reiterate the fact that, I'm committed to this story. I'm committed to your story here with the Panthers and the excitement that I have for where this could go. And, all of a sudden, Jalen gets hurt and all of a sudden it's like, okay, Hunter, and by the way, you're playing on Sunday right now, so let's go. And so just a lot of excitement for both of us. And we were able to touch base again, today just about that whole thing. But I think both of us just kind of had a laugh and just thought you can, many are the ways of man, and the plans that you might have in your mind, but, God ultimately has a plan for how things work out. And we kind of just sat there on the field and just kind of had a laugh. It was a little different than we both kind of pictured, but here we are, so let's go.
I agree with you, but at the same time, I feel like being involved in the story is something that isn't necessarily 100% coming from Dave. Yes, it's a good story to have a guy like Hunter Renfrow come back into the fold, especially post-injury. He wanted to play for only the Panthers and apparently received offers from other teams, but decided that he only wanted to play in Carolina. This continues to move me back to the center of this, which is I believe he is going to end up as a coach on this team. I don't think that this is 100% just for that. The investment in the story and all that, there's something here. Not really sure what it is, and don't get me wrong, we do need to roll out a completely healthy team against the Jaguars. But we were just having the conversation, or Dave was just having the conversation, I should say, that Hunter didn't look ready. Hunter didn't look like he was able to actually go out there and do it. I mean, he was out of a bunch of time when it comes to training because of a hamstring issue. I'm sorry, but as a wide receiver, especially as an older one, availability is the best ability. But either way, I just don't know if this is the best scenario, but obviously it's the best we can pull out of a hat. We don't trust Bryson Tremaine yet. We obviously do not want to put David Moore out there. So the idea of bringing in a Hunter Renfrow makes sense. It's more of, is he going to be okay moving back to the practice squad? Or is there a scenario where Hunter Renfrow plays well? Yes, absolutely. But if that's the case, then we're moving Bryson Tremaine to the practice squad, and Hunter Renfrow is going to go ahead of David Moore. I could absolutely see that. I don't love it, but as a 1 year, sure, let's see what happens. As a 1 game, absolutely, let's see what happens. But don't anoint Hunter Renfrow just yet.
It's pretty clear that you didn't think he was ready for the 53-man when you cut him, but now he's in a place where he's going to have to play. How did you explain that to him?
Honestly, again, it was just going back to let's keep talking this week. That wasn't a definitive declaration or anything that was like set in stone. That's just like, let's continue to have this conversation throughout the week, and it got closer and closer to where both sides, felt good about where we're headed. So I'm glad we found the agreement.
Again, I like it. I don't love it, but either way, we're going to know in Jacksonville for sure.
I wanted to go back. I wanted to go back to the captain's thing for a second.
Yeah.
That rotational captain.
Yeah.
Is that something you picked up from Pete, or did you pick it up from somewhere else?
Yeah, that was from Pete. He kind of looked for a way to like celebrate and acknowledge somebody who's just given everything they got, contributing to the team, a team guy, exhibiting the play style that we're looking for, the toughness, playing smart, and really making a contribution. And on top of that, we also have a scout team player of the week for somebody that just we see continuing to take steps and grow, develop, and really treat every day like a championship moment and like their opportunity to get better. And we recognize that as well. At the end of the week, they don't go out for the coin toss. So really, it's like a fifth captain that we kind of recognize. And it's no different than the players that we want to pay to be here long term. We reward the guys that look like Panthers football players, and in the vision and the dreams that we have, what we imagine our group becoming, we just kind of point to those things like, guys, this is us. This is who we're looking for. This is how we want to play football.
Dave, last year, obviously, defensively, things didn't go well, and you brought a lot of people in. So there's a lot of different personnel, but schematically, is this defense going to look differently than last year? Did you change anything this offseason?
You will see on Sunday. We definitely have a core of stuff that we love. And of course, you get an off season in camp, and we're working on stuff. We're working on, I love, Ajero's philosophy, and really, having Coach Capers here is like, let's get our best 11 players on the field, whatever that looks like. And I believe the same thing about the offensive side, so it's a combination of different guys that we just have to find a way to get guys to put them in the best position to be impactful, and so we'll be able to kind of do that in some different ways.
My follow-up question immediately would have been, what is your confidence in Ejiro Evero this year? Or where do you see, I guess you kind of asked it, where do you see the defense and everything? I don't know. Maybe that's too pointed of a question, especially this early. Obviously, we haven't seen anything play, but man, the fan base wants Evero gone. And I don't agree with that, but the fans want what the fans want, and I don't. Hopefully, this defense looks better than last year. That's all I'm saying.
In
About
terms
Bryce
of,
last year in the opener and yourself, because you were optimistic going to last year's opener like you
Yeah.
are right now, but things kind of didn't work out the way you probably, what did you learn about him and yourself last year?
I'm not looking for last year. I can just tell you where we're at right now. We got a great leader who's stepping into the huddle, making sure the tempo's right, making sure the attitude's right, the energy's right. You're talking about a guy who's won at the highest level in college football. He knows how to be a champion. He knows how to win. And I just love the way that he's affecting all of us, the way that he's affecting his teammates. But it's about his daily approach, and the consistency that comes with that, and I'm just really fired up about, being able to go out there and battle again on Sunday with him.
That day-to-day earlier, was that Icky specific? Or
Yes.
everybody?
I mean, Icky specific, and everybody else find out on Wednesday. We'll give the official report.
Shout out to Dave Canales. So we're obviously in an interesting scenario. He's obviously finishing that by very much praising Bryce Young, especially since he just brought in a guy that he said he really liked coming out of the draft in Hendon Hooker as QB3, I guess, on this practice squad. With that, I want to know your thoughts. Do you really genuinely think that this offense is about to take a step forwards? And also, where do you think this defense goes? We're only 6 days away from the opener, or should say the Carolina opener. Obviously, the season starts Thursday. But regardless, I'm super happy we all made it here. Dave Canales, Bryce Young even included. Carolina football is back. Hopefully you guys all keep pounding out there, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. I really appreciate you making it this far. It helps out the channel, and I cannot thank you enough. Hopefully one of these other videos are ones that you like as well, but if not, I can't wait to catch you in the next one. My name is Nick, and this has been Roll Coverage.